recording, I'm looking at the camera, I'm looking at the camera. Okay, hello, and welcome to this, my YouTube channel. I guess I have a YouTube channel now, so that's cool, that's interesting. That's an interesting development. Today, I want to talk about the terrible Percy Jackson movie, because do I need a reason? I know that everyone is like sick of hearing about this movie and talking about this movie and thinking about this movie, but I'm not. So, here we go. The movie starts with Poseidon coming out of the ocean to talk to his brother Zeus. And basically like explain the plot of the movie to us, because apparently we're not going to figure it out otherwise.
But no lightning.
You think I took it? We are forbidden from stealing each other's powers.
You're accusing my son. He must return the bolt to me in 14 days, or there will be war.
For some reason I find it so funny that Zeus has his coat like artfully draped over his shoulders the way you only ever see in like fashion, like things like fashion shows, in a way that's super impractical to like blasting doors open or whatever you do because you're Zeus. What are they even doing? Why did they have to shrink down to human form? Why does Poseidon look like he's terrified to cross the street? You're literally a god. So now the movie begins for real, and we meet Percy, who's sitting at the bottom of a swimming pool, because as he will tell us many times in this movie, he loves being in water.
I just like being in water.
And we also meet Grover, who's like the only person in this movie who has a sense of humor.
It's like high school without the musical.
I kind of cringed at this line, but this is like one of the funniest parts of the movie, because it's one of the only funny parts of the movie. I feel like this actor was the only one who read the book and was like, oh, this has jokes in it. This is supposed to be funny. So Percy and Grover and their class go on this trip to the museum, where we find out that Pierce Brosnan is in this movie for some reason. Like, imagine being a casting director and being like, who are we gonna get to play this fake Latin teacher who's actually half man, half horse, who runs a summer camp? Let's get the guy who played James Bond and one of the dads in Mamma Mia and that movie where he stole a bunch of stuff.
I'm not even sure what point I was trying to make here. I just thought it was an odd casting choice, I guess. IDK.
Also, I love how Percy is like wearing headphones despite standing like front and center in the tour group. Also, guys, do you think the substitute teacher might be evil? It's like kind of hard to tell from all of her scowls and pointed glances. I don't know.
Oh, hey. How did you get up there?
Okay, so skipping ahead a little bit, they drive to Camp Half-Blood, they fight the Minotaur takes his mother. Side note, this scene literally made me cry in the book, not just the first time I read it, and in the movie I literally don't care. Like, I'm literally blowing past this part because it's so uninteresting in the movie. And then Percy wakes up at Camp Half-Blood, and we learn that Grover is surprisingly jacked. Also, he's a satyr, if you didn't know that. We learn that Pierce Brosnan is, of course, a centaur.
A real horse's ass.
And then we meet this person, who is Annabeth, apparently. Then Chiron shows Percy to his cabin, at which point, through really intense deductive reasoning, Percy realizes,
My father's Poseidon.
I don't want to necessarily harp on everything that's different from the book to the movie, because if I did that, we would be here all day. And in any case, I don't think that a movie adaptation has to be exactly like the book for it to be good. But I do want to harp on this because I think it's important. In the book, when Percy gets to camp, he doesn't know who his father is. Nobody knows who his father is. And so he has to spend a couple chapters figuring out where he belongs and who he is, and feeling like an outcast, and he has to live in the Hermes cabin even though he's not a child of Hermes. It makes for some really great character development, which this movie is sorely lacking right now. We don't get any character development in this scene. Instead, we just get Percy picking up that trident thing and being like, oh, this thing has some weight to it.
Seems you got some weight to it.
Then they meet Luke, who looks like he's trying really hard not to laugh, and they play Capture the Flag, which is apparently a game where two teams of people just attack each other for no reason until one person remembers that the game is called Capture the Flag and actually goes to look for the flag.
Percy, I know where the flag's at, come on!
Oh right, and there's also this scene where Hades shows up at the camp by a campfire to sort of confront Percy.
Percy Jackson, show yourself! Be a good boy.
Be a good boy.
Hand it to me, and I will exchange it for your mother.
My mother's gone!
No, your mother is still alive. I sent the Minotaur to abduct her.
For some reason, Hades' voice really reminds me of the talking fish head voice from SpongeBob.
Local resident SpongeBob SquarePants only has a few hours left to complete his essay.
Anyway, they decide they're gonna go on this quest to save Percy's mom, and they go see Luke.
What are you guys up to?
And he gives them this map. Oh, and then there's this like 2-second scene of them getting off a Greyhound bus, which, if you've read the book, or seen the musical, or even just listened to the musical soundtrack, you know that there is a scene where they blow up a Greyhound bus. And it's probably one of the more memorable scenes in the book. Like, even if you haven't read the book in a long time, or you're just kind of a casual fan, that's one of the scenes that you're probably gonna remember. This scene in the movie, it's literally just 2 seconds of them getting off a bus, and then it cuts to the next scene. You're like, oh yeah, you remember that one scene that you probably liked in the book that you enjoyed? Yeah, this isn't that. Like, why? Just wanted to see a bus explode. So they go to the first place on the map. They encounter Medusa. She's the one with the snakes in the hair, and when you look at her, you turn into stone.
So rude, not looking people in the eye.
How dumb is this lady, though? She knows what happens when you open your eyes. She's had her eyes closed this whole time. And Medusa's like, oh, it's rude not to look people in the eye. And this lady's like, oh, she's right, I better look her in the eye, even though I know that it's gonna kill me. So later on, they go to the Lotus Casino.
There it is. Lotus Casino.
I've been looking forward to this. Look, guys, remember, always put the 8s and never the 10s, okay?
We're not here to gamble, remember?
We got poker. We got blackjack.
Rover, we're not here to have fun. We just need to grab the pearl and go, okay?
We're not here to have fun.
Really, this could have just been the tagline for the whole movie. So they go into the casino, and they all eat the lotus flowers, and it makes them giddy.
Try a lotus flower. They're so good. It's our signature dish.
Yo, do we have to pay for this?
Annabeth and Percy smile as if they have not smiled in months. Percy and Annabeth almost make out, but then they don't. There's a dance number, which honestly I'm not mad at. And then Percy realizes that the hotel is a trap.
No, Percy. Don't eat the flower. It dulls the senses.
He conveniently finds the pearl on the Russian roulette table, and they get in this car, which conveniently has the keys right inside of it, and escape. Wow, all of that was very convenient. Yes, it's supposed to be a magical casino, but the magic isn't supposed to be that it's magically easy to leave. It's actually the opposite of that. So, they get to the underworld, which means that this movie is almost over.
Welcome to the underworld.
And they pass by a bunch of different objects that are supposed to represent, like, the different hopes and dreams that people have abandoned. And this was actually in the books, so I'm reluctantly saying good job on this one. Percy picks up a pocket watch. I don't really know what it's supposed to represent. Like, maybe someone's hope in life was to one day be on time for things. So maybe it's me. It's my pocket watch. Anyway, the lightning bolt was actually in Percy's shield, and it turns out that the real lightning thief was inside of us all along. Nah, just kidding, it was Luke.
I'm the lightning thief.
So that's the movie. I mean, like, some other stuff happens, like they go to Olympus. Zeus is wearing this like armor shirt that like has his abs carved into it. They go back to camp, and Percy and Annabeth almost make out, but then they don't again. Wow.
It gets a little rambly from this point on, just FYI.
It's like they knew what the plot was and who the characters were, but they didn't understand, like, the tone or, like, the voice. Like, it's a kid's book, right? Like, it has jokes in it. It has humor. And yes, sometimes it's really cringy humor because it's for kids, but that's like part of it. I mean, I can't speak for anyone else, but that's part of why I love it as a full-grown adult. They made one more movie, but then they stopped because I guess they weren't making any money because the movies are terrible. The worst thing about this is that Percy Jackson is a huge franchise with a huge fan base, and there's like 1 million books. There's like 5 books in the series, right? But then there's also Heroes of Olympus, and there's also Trials of Apollo. There could have been a separate movie for each of those. It sucks not only for us, who are never gonna get that, I mean probably, it sucks for anyone who's making money off of these movies. This could have been a freaking cash cow for you guys. Yeah, so cool, that was that.
I didn't record much of an outro, so British man voice is here once again. Thanks for watching. Seriously though, if you actually watched this all the way through, that is rad. I appreciate it.